Hello all, this is Damini, co-founder of VMake Scholars. I welcome you to the 15th episode of our web series Loanflix Season 2. So for those of you who are new to this channel, let me tell you Loanflix is a web series which covers each and every detail of an abroad education loan, right from the process, eligibility to the disbursement, repayment, each and everything. And Loanflix is an initiative of VMake Scholars. VMake Scholars is an organization which is funded and supported by the Ministry of IT, Government of India, and our sole purpose is to help students like you get an abroad education loan. Yeah. So one more thing is that all the services of VMake Scholars are completely free of charge. So today's video is on a very interesting topic, that is what happens if you do not pay back your education loan. Now this is a question which we get asked very often, and to be honest, all of you, when you're planning this beautiful dream of having a degree from abroad, you're definitely not thinking that I'll take this education loan and vanish, right? So I understand that most of you have the intention of paying back this loan. It is just that you want to prepare for the worst. Yeah, so in this video, I have divided it into two parts. So in the first part, I'll be covering how can you actually repay your loan and how can you repay it faster. I'll cover terminologies like part payment, pre-closure, etc. And in the second half, I'll talk about what happens if you do not pay it, right? So in that, I'll talk about EMI delays, if you delay your EMI by 1 to 3 months, and what happens if you delay it more than 3 months, and what happens if you do not pay it forever, right? So I'll cover all those scenarios in this video. Yeah, so let's start. But before that, if you appreciate the effort we put in to bring this information out to you, then please subscribe to our channel and click on that bell icon to get regular updates. Let's start. With respect to education loan repayment, the most important thing you need to understand is moratorium period. So the lenders are not supposed to ask you for an EMI while you are studying, plus a grace period of 6 months to 1 year. Yeah, so this is called as moratorium period, and this period is given to you so that you can focus on your studies and then take out some time to find a job before you have the burden of paying EMIs. Yeah, so one more thing you need to understand here is I need not pay EMIs if I have taken an education loan. That's correct. But there are many lenders who will ask you to pay at least the full or partial interest even during this moratorium period. Yeah. So generally government banks will not ask you to pay anything because their risk is kind of lower because they have taken a collateral security from you. But on the other side, private banks and NBFCs will ask you to pay at least full or partial interest because their risk is kind of higher because mostly they offer unsecured loans. Yeah. So at VMake Scholars, we can help you with the complete education loan process with all these kinds of banks, whether it's government bank, private bank, or NBFCs. Yeah, and as I mentioned, all the services of VMake Scholars are completely free of cost. Yeah. So I hope it is clear till here. Now, in the first study period plus 6 months to 1 year, you either pay full interest or partial interest, or you pay nothing. Now, once this period ends, that's when your repayment begins. So at the end of your moratorium period, the lender will check how much amount you have disbursed till date, and based on that, they will generate your EMI as well as the loan amortization schedule. So we have already done that for you. You can check the video which is linked above. So most of the time when we are taking this education loan, we are very positive that I'm going to close this loan just like that until you actually start repaying. See, most of the people do the maths in this way that, if I'm going to get my master's from the US, I'm going to have a 80 lakhs package. If I'm getting it from Canada, I'm going to have a 60 lakhs package. So definitely a 40-50 lakhs loan should not take me more than 2 to 3 years to close, right? That's actually right. I mean, you can easily close this loan in 2 to 3 years, but you also have to take into consideration the worst possibilities. Like what if you lose your job? What if your package is lesser? What if you take much longer to get this job, right? So that's why we always tell students to opt for at least 10 years of repayment tenure. And in government banks, you can even go for up to 15 years, but 10 is something you should definitely opt for. And the longer the tenure, the smaller will be the EMI, at least in the initial year, so that it's much more comfortable for you. And what happens eventually is that if you have taken loan from any of the bank, you can always pre-close it, right? So let's say if you have taken it for 10 years and within 3 years you have got a lump sum of money, or you can pay higher EMIs, you can definitely close your loan in, let's say, 3 years, right? That's called as pre-closure, and I'm going to talk about it in detail in some time, right? But the reverse is very complex. Let's say if you have taken a repayment tenure of only 4 years as per your loan application, and later due to some of these worst scenarios, you need 2 more years to repay your loan. In that case, it becomes a very complex process, because the whole loan has to be restructured and bank may or may not approve it, right? So I hope you're clear on this. So now let's say you have opted for a 10 years repayment tenure. Now I'm going to tell you what is part prepayment and what is pre-closure. So after starting the loan repayment, or any time after taking the loan, you can pay back the principal amount plus the accrued interest and close the loan. It is called as pre-closure. And in government banks, you can pre-close at any point of time, even immediately after taking the loan. Next month you can pre-close. But in case of private banks and NBFCs, there is a lock-in period of 6 months, which means you can only pre-close after 6 months of the first disbursement. Yeah. And for pre-closure, there are some charges also, which is about 2,000 to 4,000 rupees, irrespective of the loan amount. Yeah. But mostly, people don't pre-close unless it's a visa rejection kind of situation, for which, there is a separate video I have made which you can check about. So mostly people don't pre-close because it's a big sum of money, and they can't pay like 40 lakhs in one go, and they don't have that kind of money. So what mostly people do is they do part prepayment. So for example, let's say if I have a 40 lakhs loan and I'm paying an EMI of about 50,000 per month, and suddenly I join a company and I get a joining bonus of about 7 lakh rupees, which is $10,000. So what I can do is I can pay this 7 lakhs to the bank and reduce my principal amount. So now after this reduction of principal, my loan will be restructured. So what I can do is I can still keep paying that 50,000, the same amount of EMI, and close my loan much earlier because I've already paid 7 lakhs. Or you can keep the same tenure and reduce your EMI from 50,000 to, let's say, 40,000, because you have some more buffer time because you have cleared a portion of principal already. Yeah. So I hope this is clear. So now, as you know about the repayment and the pre-closure and part prepayment, etc. Now let's talk about what happens if you are not able to repay. Yeah. So I'll discuss that at different levels of severity. So when you take a loan, any kind of education loan or any other loan, you need to pay EMIs by a certain due date. If you do not pay your EMIs by the due date and you delay it by, let's say, 1 day or 2 days, or anywhere up to 30 days, then banks reports it to the credit bureaus, and it reflects as DPDs, days past due, on your financial scorecard, that is your credit report, and it definitely reduces your score as well as the chances of any future loans. Yeah. Now, if you delay your EMI for more than 30 days, so up to 30 days, this is the only thing which happens, which I told you about credit bureaus. But if you delay it for more than 30 days, then in addition to reporting it to credit bureaus, banks also start charging you a penal interest. That is like the extra penalty interest on top of your regular interest rate which the bank is charging you. So in case of government banks, it is about 2% per annum, and in case of private banks and NBFCs, this penal interest is about 3 to 4% per annum. Yeah. So now this goes on up to 90 days. Now let's say if you haven't paid your EMI still and 90 days have passed, in that case, bank can declare your account as NPA, which is non-performing asset. You can Google for the exact definition, but it basically means that bank categorizes you as a defaulter, and it reflects on your credit report. It drastically drops your credit score, and now bank starts what we call as soft recovery. So now, as part of soft recovery, you and your co-applicant will start getting calls to make you aware of this issue. They will request you to pay as early as possible, and bank will also start issuing you warning letters. Yeah. So if it is a government bank, the soft recoveries are kind of soft. they won't call you or harass you much because they are a government bank and they have your collateral, so they'll still be calm. But for private banks and NBFCs, you can expect more rigorous follow-ups, as they'll be more worried about this loss because they don't get funds from government and neither they have your security, right? So now with these soft recovery follow-ups, if you start paying your EMI back on track, your account will be removed from the NPA status, and eventually it'll clear off your credit scoring also. But let's say if you do not pay back, if you do not start paying back even after 3 months of follow-up as per soft recovery, then ideally banks are supposed to get into hard recovery. But the ground reality is that in government banks, they start the hard recovery after 9 to 10 months of soft recovery process. But in case of private banks and NBFCs, immediately after 3 months of follow-ups as soft recovery, they'll get into hard recovery. So now I'll explain you what exactly is hard recovery. So in the hard recovery phase, government banks will send you a notice saying that they are going to sell off your collateral and recover the money, and you have this final last deadline, let's say of 1 month. Please come back and pay. Yeah. So if you do not respond to this hard recovery intimation, then the bank is actually going to go ahead and put your property under the auction list. So after another 4 to 6 months, the property will be auctioned and bank will finalize a price. Again, they will come back to you saying that this is the price they are getting in the auction and this is the final price. If you still have money to pay off and clear your loan, you still can do that. But again, if you're not doing it at this stage also, then bank will sell it off to the person who turned up in the auction, and whatever money they get, they will keep the outstanding of your loan, they'll clear it off, and whatever is the leftover extra amount, they'll give it back to you. Yeah, so they're kind of genuine in that way. Yeah, so government banks kind of they give you about 2 years. They keep asking you for 2 years before they actually take away the property from you, right? So that is one very important thing for you to understand, because a lot of people feel that I miss one EMI and my house will be gone. No, it doesn't work like that. That's kind of a myth, right? So you see that there are so many phases, the warnings, the soft recovery, and then the hard recovery, and then the auction procedure and everything, right? But when it comes to private banks and NBFCs, their hard recovery, as I told you, will start immediately after 3 months of soft recovery phase. So they can get really hard during this phase. They send people to your home to ask for EMI money, and they can also use the blank checks which they have taken from you at the time of loan sanction and all. And foreign NBFCs, if you have taken loan from there, they go to another extent. They report this to your university and also to your employer abroad, which can have very serious consequences. So at least Indian banks and NBFCs don't do that, reporting to university and employer and all. So during this whole process of soft recovery and hard recovery, you should never try to run away from the lender. But instead, you should talk to them and you should try to explain them why you're not able to repay, right? Because they can always give you additional 6 months to 1 year of moratorium period, or they can reduce the ROI, or they can even give you the option of loan settlement. So loan settlement means you do not repay the entire outstanding, but instead you negotiate and you just pay a portion of it and clear off the loan. Yeah. So that's why it's important that you speak to the lender, because if someone has got, let's say, a terminal illness, right, bank knows that the person is never gonna get that kind of employment back again, so they will never be able to recover the entire loan. So bank will definitely be more inclined to settle the loan somewhere and close it off from their books, right? So that's why please ensure that you talk to the bank or the NBFC. That's it for this video. I hope it answered a lot of your questions, and feel free to put the unanswered ones in the comments below, and I'll definitely get back to each one of you. VMake Scholars is the only initiative in India which helps students like you get this education loan from government banks, private banks and NBFCs. And VMake Scholars is funded and supported by the Ministry of IT, Government of India under their Digital India initiative, and all our services are completely free of charge. And most importantly, the help or support of VMake Scholars doesn't end at sanction. There are thousands of students who come back to us to seek help during the repayment. Sometimes it is for extension of moratorium period, sometimes it is with respect to the wrongly charged ROI. So you must watch my video on post-sanction issues, which will help you in getting an insight into that. Please find the link above. Yeah, so that's it. So if you appreciate the effort we put in to bring this information out to you, then please subscribe to our channel and click on that bell icon to get regular updates. Please like and share this video with your friends and colleagues who might have taken a loan in the past or planning to take one. Stay tuned for my next video.
Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell icon to never miss any updates from us.